What was that? Never shutdown raid is unleashed. The hostile takeover, it does not matter. Double kill now. He's still alive, Rusty. He is just untouchable. That's an explosive toss! Oh, and you make these dead scared as well. Look at that! Happy jumping!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to week 3 of the LCO. We got day 2 of games, and that means every other game has been played, and we're on the last day of the group stage, unless there is tiebreakers. And look, we're going to be talking about that and a whole lot more very shortly. I'm joined by Kitty. I'm joined by Skimmy. I'm joined by the Rusty. Rusto. What do you like?
What do I like?
Yeah, Rusty.
Yeah, I'd rather stick with the original. I don't think I'd run Rusto.
Nah, we're going off scripts.
Rust. There's no other way to say it. It's just Rusty, man.
Rust
Yeah.
Rust Y.
Rust Y.
Rust Y.
Rust why not?
Rusty with an I instead of a Y. Food for thought.
No. Just a solid
Ruster,
no.
like Palmer. That's what people
No, I
like
say
down the south side of Australia, don't they?
I do say Palmy
That's
though.
what I heard. Either way, Palmy, great word, the accurate word, and Rusty, the
Correct.
accurate
Palmy.
nickname. But look, enough playing silly buggers. We've got to look back at all the action that happened yesterday before we jump on into the chaos that is today.
Looking to siege once again. Darjong wants none of that. That's a disengaged all the way there from Daystar. Benvi is the casualty, the price they have to pay for it. They get knocked up. Let's bounce. Let's fight. And let's find success with your Bliss right now. There's some of the Heralds. They're going to try and farm a few more kills, get a few more turrets, and get a big ace.
Dongy with the Sedge ult.
Dongy caught out of position right now. Forced to flash away. Beautiful timing of it, has to be said. In we jump. There's the Magnet Storm. There's the pick. There's Praetor flashing away. Now stuck on Chaz's wall. He's body blocked in by his teammate. That's first blood. Violet gets it over his old counterpart, and now, here they go. This one's going to go right down to the wire.
That it's in.
Orb's been taken at 100 HP by the Victor of all people. Kisei absorbs the world in that zone. He's now fully upgraded. Rift walks away. In goes Hextech Ultimatum. Weijia finds his target. Ray still alive, but gets taken out there by Che, and Kisei survives for the meantime.
Weijia's crazy.
Pops a wild growth, but this Camille can do no wrong. Waiting for hook shot. And Kit, there's the stun onto Bulldog. You're burning a support. It's not who you want. Look at the shielding. So tanky, the Radiant
on the
Virtue
flank with
hitting
the
up an
blue.
absolute flank. Blue jumps in, but gonna burn on down. Dante finds his first kill of the game. Now into action goes the Olaf. There's the axe, there's Chop, and he's just a lumberjack. He can do no wrong. It's not gonna be a pentakill, but that is a very decisive ace.
Big Tronny with the triple though.
An insane day of games.
Tronny!
And you just saying blue made me think, what if you have to try to describe like a red side blue quadrant, but it's blue's red side blue quadrant, and then all of a sudden you just get through this level of intensity, or the blue side, blue's blue side.
That's a good question. I say the team name instead. That's actually the answer.
The top half of the map.
There's always an answer for all these
Yeah.
conundrums, huh? It was just, they go on your ear, Rusty. Look, bloody thinker he is. Look, we got a lot going on today because it is the last day of this one round robin before we jump into the group stage. So let's have a look where all the teams are currently sitting with the 6 games they've played so far. Kitty, you want to take us through here, because I'm seeing 4 two-way ties at the moment, and that's just the start of this tie talk we're about to have.
Yeah, with 1 game left, we have Direwolves and Pentanet tied for that first place, being 5-1. Team Bliss and Chiefs sitting pretty in third, 4-2. And of course, we have the rest, Ground Zero Gaming and Mammoth also being tied on that 5th position. And finally, we also have Peace and Kenga sitting pretty at the bottom.
pretty as ever, especially after what we saw from Peace in their technically debut game for the year yesterday. They're looking real damn good. Now let's have a look at today's games. Who's playing who? What can be done to change up all those ties? Well, look, potential for bloody match of the week right now already, even though we already had one yesterday. Match of the day, I'm already looking at Peace and Direwolves. That should be insane. And it's the first one, and that's just where all the fun begins. Then we got PGG up against TB, which is Team Bliss. And that could go either bloody way. These first two games, if they go one particular way, could turn us into a bloody four-way tie. We have worlds where four-way, three-way ties can happen all over this damn leaderboard. But look, 8 p.m, Mammoth against Ground Zero. Not too sure how that one's going to go, but it is going to break that 2-4 tie for the moment. And then the final game of the day, Kanga against the Chiefs to round out this round robin stage is, look, it should be one-sided, but I guess we'll see once we get there. Either way, let's move on into the tiebreaker talk. And these are the outcomes that can happen that will enable us to have a three-way tie or a four-way tie towards teams that could be going into either bloody group. So a three-way tie will happen if Peace beats Direwolves, Bliss beats PGG, and Kanga beats Chiefs. But then there's a chance for a four-way tie if Peace beats Direwolves, Team Bliss beats PGG, and Chiefs beats Kanga, which is, look, more expected than the other way. So, Rusty, do you want to take us through what this means for the group stage and for this potential tiebreakers we might have to have tomorrow if this happens?
I mean, the number one thing here is that game one is really important for the scenario of tiebreakers. Peace that we saw yesterday were able to beat the Chiefs, so it's certainly possible that they take out Direwolves today. And then we look at game two for an upset match, because if that does happen, if Peace are able to take down Direwolves, now Bliss have to pull something out. And like you said, Mac, the expected result perhaps in the third one in this scenario of Chiefs beating Kanga. But a four-way tiebreak scenario is fascinating because it's this weird combination of, like, you don't know where you want to finish overall because the group seedings are determined, they're set numbers. And it's also a match between the top four teams that we get to see again, which makes the tiebreaker day actually very exciting.
Yeah, and there's a world where, look, with Peace coming out, beating Chiefs yesterday, if we end up with some kind of stacked group where we got Chiefs, Direwolves, and bloody Peace there as well, you know, there is a chance that the group stage is going to be extremely interesting for both sides because, look, one will be a little bit more bottom heavy and it's like who's going to be going through to the playoffs. The other being top heavy, we're going to lose potentially one of the top four teams, not on the leaderboard, but, you know, from results we've seen in the last day.
Yeah, from yesterday.
Yeah, from yesterday.
We have a top four from yesterday.
Yeah, we have
That's
a top
what we're
four from
talking
yesterday.
about.
So there's a lot to be talking about here. But I think let's have a look at where the bracket is going to be, or what it's going to look like for both these groups, and where the seeds come from that leaderboard. So this is going to be Group A, and Group A is going to have Seed 1, Seed 3, Seed 6, and Seed 8. But as you can see there, if you're Seed 1, you get to play Seed 8, so that's a pretty big advantage, especially going into this bracket, into this group stage. And then on the lower side, Seed 3 will play Seed 6, so still a pretty big advantage if you come in third overall. And if history reminds me of, like, the leaderboard from before, there's a chance that PGG or Direwolves could be first. There's a chance for a four-way tie for first. So anyone could be in that Seed 1 slot or that Seed 3 slot, and that could still not be decided today, could be decided tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's why it becomes so interesting, the sort of situation we find ourselves in, right? Because typically speaking, that's why you want the first seed. You want the best chance possible to progress through the upper bracket. But given a situation with Peace, you're thinking if they fall into a situation, or rather if they come in as the 8th seed, you're thinking, hey, I've come first. Now I'm up against a really heavy hitter in the opening round. It sort of feels a little bit hard done by, right? So yeah, 1, 8, 3, and 6 to start things off with. Obviously in the other group as well, you're then looking at seeds 2, 4, 5, and 7.
Yeah.
And it just makes the whole discussion as to, you know, which group is going to be the group of death or the group of life.
Yeah, and the other thing to quickly mention as well, as you can see, there was the dates there. So each day is going to have 2 best of 3s when we get past the break, get into this group stage. And both games, or there's going to be 1 game from each group on the same day.
Yep.
So we're only going to see, look, certain teams play on certain days, but that's fine because we get potentially more League of Legends, potentially 6 games a day.
Yeah, and Group A always going to be 5 p.m. Group B always going to be 8 p.m. It does mean that, like you just said, we could have 6 games of League, which is more than we've had in the LCO ever, actually, except for that one exception of the single double best of 5 day that we would have every year, which was a banger.
Always
That's when
a
Matt
banger.
cast.
Always a banger.
That was when you
Yeah,
cast
it
Oh,
was
it.
Mac on the
cast.
play-by-play.
Yeah, look at me.
Yeah,
Huh?
oh.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Look at the play-by-play cast over here. Kitty, any thoughts on the bracket and where you would like to see the teams sitting at the end of today?
Well, like you said, we potentially can have a group of death, and I would take that as a viewer any day of the week because obviously, oh, my popcorn ready. You guys can't see it still in the oven, but it's ready. Trust me. And it's going to be very tough, especially for Peace, right? Because I believe they have the head-to-head against Kenga, who they're tied with currently. Is that correct?
Peace should have head-to-head against no one.
Oh, sorry. Kenga has the head-to-head against Peace because they
Yeah.
forfeited the game.
Yeah.
So that just means a guaranteed 8th if they lose against Dials today.
Yep.
And that means they're going to go up against the first seed, and that's going to be terrible.
Yep.
Whoever's the best in the league starts with Peace.
High stakes. And look, it
Yeah.
might also mean if Peace win today, you kind of don't want to be sitting second either because then you might be playing Peace in that first round of the group stage. Either way, look, let's not get too worried about this, guys. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be fine, right? And look, to take your mind off it, to take my mind off it, fortunately, we have the LCO champion Conundrum.
Is today the day Lux with you? Is it now your life could read you? Then you must play the game, cause I have to proclaim life's a game of chance.
Yeah, bye, mate.
So, we are
Oops.
having a spelling bee today. And look, if history
Where's
repeats
our
itself,
pens?
we're all going to win because we're all absolutely
Oh.
insane spellers.
Oh, bye, Rusty.
We're going to write with the black pens so they're more
Cinema
visible.
magic.
What are you guys doing over there? You're always doing
Oh,
something.
don't worry about us, man.
Crazy, crazy gentlemen. But look, so it is going to be an item that'll pop up on screen. Our friend, what's the name?
Text-to-speech.
Great name. Text-to-speech is going to tell us.
I don't have a
It's
name.
going to read out the name, and then we have to try to spell it on our little boardies, and then see how close we get and show us all at the same time. Either way, let's jump on into the fun. Let's jump on into item number 1. What do we have? Ooh, I wonder what
I
that
don't
is.
like that.
I've never seen that
I
before.
don't like that they started with
Wormfall
this.
and Sacrifice.
Wait,
Excuse me?
Again?
So we're going for the Ornn upgrade?
Wormfall and Sacrifice.
So this is the Ornn upgrade of this item.
What was the first
Shut up,
word?
Rusty. I
I
can't
can't
hear
hear
it.
One more time.
Wormfall and Sacrifice.
Oh.
That's really cruel.
How good is English?
What was the word yesterday that I was thinking of was hosiery?
Okay.
Yes.
That murdered me.
Yes.
I didn't know what the first word was, so I've just given it a hot crack, which kind of reminds me of Kraken. Either way, Kitty, are you ready?
It's
Hey,
adjacent to Kraken, isn't it?
Kitty's going for a last minute. Oh, we had timer. Okay, apparently we ran out of time. Unlucky Kitty. 3, 2, 1, reveal. Wormfall and Sacrifice. Oh, he's on it. Kitty, you said you wrote Warfall and Sacrifice. See, that's what I couldn't hear was the first word,
Yeah.
but I figured it was worm because worm is like a krakeny, weird mythical beast.
Worm isn't spelled with a Y.
Yes, it is when it's a dragon.
Oh.
Yeah, like
I was
a
thinking
mythical
worm, like in your
creature, the
garden.
worm.
That's why English is so cool, eh?
So that we are correct?
We are.
We are correct. Okay.
So we all have 1 point.
Bit
Congratulations.
of silence there that was
Except for
deafening.
Yeah, we're just like,
me.
So-
yeah.
Hey,
So we
Sure.
did get it. It's
Can
WYR.
we talk?
Beautiful. All right, well, that was a out of left field.
That was a
With the bloody-
curveball.
I was
from
like, yeah,
the-
Kraken
All
Slayer, yeah, it's
upgrade?
easy,
Oh.
it's easy.
I was already thinking, how do you spell Kraken?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It came in with
100%.
the worm fallen.
All right, let's have a look at item number 2. What do we got here?
Lord Dominic's regards.
Oh. Okay.
That is it?
Da.
Is it? Stop
Yeah.
laughing. This is one of those moments where you regret not being able to be neat, like at all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Scribbling.
true.
It's
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
messy.
3, 2, 1, reveal.
Where
The
we
question
at?
was, how do we, because it's a name too.
What, are you
Just the
serious?
K.
Are you serious? I put
Yes!
a C. Are
That
you
was the
serious
trick.
right now?
That was the
I was
trick.
questioning my.
I even got punctuation. Oh, we all got the punctuation as well.
Any
except
apostrophes in the chat?
Yeah.
Unlucky Kitty.
Okay.
Damn, this
this
is
feels
turning
like
out
it's-
to be.
This feels like it's targeted against
a little
Kitty. Look,
expose.
Hey,
I'm on to you, producers.
hey. Oh, she's getting thrown under the bus.
You're like, let's go back to the lore questions.
All right, let's have a look at the third item. What do we got here?
This is
Syzygy.
for sure the upgrade.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
oh, it is the weird one again.
Syzygy.
Sausagey.
Sausagey. That's a word and a half, isn't it?
I remember seeing this with Skimmy for the patch notes, and I was
Yeah.
like, what is that? And you're like, it's the Orn upgrade. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not a word, mate.
Yeah, that's not a word.
It's a different type of moon. I forget. I was Googling these originally,
that
so
what
I
it
remember
means?
them. Yeah, because there's an
Ah.
eclipse and a syzygy, and I forget what the syzygy is. It may be like a blood
Like
moon
snip,
type
snip?
thing. Yeah, scissors.
So
This is
like
a
when
tough
the
one,
moon
actually. This
gets
is actually a really
snapped
tough
in
one.
half and it turns into a scissor, like a Pac-Man.
Sizzlers.
Yeah, scissors. Like a Pac-Man.
That's not.
Snip, snip, but Pac-Man was... Either way,
Time's
time's
up.
up. Let's have a look at what we wrote. How close are we? No! Damn.
Am I right?
I can't
Size-
understand.
No,
Kitty, you've got an S in
Put
there.
an S instead of a Z.
Yeah.
Sis.
It's the wrong way around.
Syzygy.
Almost.
I went
Oh,
S.
you
No
got the S as well.
way,
S,
Why
Y.
is I Jai?
S S Y Z Y G Y.
Yeah,
Oh,
There's
you
no
got it.
extra S.
Rusty,
only
you
won.
got the dub
Hey,
for
big
the
dog.
size I Jai.
For the size of
For
Jai.
the
That one's
size
a
I
really
Jai.
tough one.
That's a tough word.
That was hard.
Ah.
Oh, all right, we've got two more to get through. So
Okay.
let's jump on into number 4. Rusty, flawless so far. Let's see if you can keep it going with the...
Mercurial scimitar.
Thank you.
Ah, I see why this is meant to be tricky.
Oh, you notice where my name comes from? A scimitar.
Is it
The old rune skimmy.
selling bronze skimmies?
Rune skimmy, mate. Back in the day.
The old curved blade.
Get one of those. Get it all nice and gold trimmed.
You can't get it gold trimmed.
That's the cap.
That's not how...
Wait, you sell them.
He's
It's a
fallen.
bait. It's a
He's
debate.
fallen for the
He's been
debate.
Skimmy
scammed.
used to be a scammer.
He
That
got
just got
scammed.
exposed. Either way, let's see if he's scammed a dub out of this item. 3, 2, 1, reveal. Mercurial scimitar. Oh, I wrote an S! You guys all got it.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Hell yeah.
I thought it was
Kitty's on the
Mercurial.
board. Kitty's on the board. Kitty's on the board.
Kitty's on the board. I thought she said... I thought text-to-speech said Mercurial's scimitar.
Mercurial scimitar.
Oh, yeah, right. These old ears.
I
Look,
like
I've got to
this.
get them checked. Either way, we have
Oh,
one
this
more.
text-to-speech baited him.
One more
Yeah.
to have a look
I'm
at.
actually sure if
He lost the
text-to-speech
Siri.
said it right or not.
Yeah. What's the last item? Let's have a look-see.
It's a carrot.
Ah.
It's a carrot? Oh, easy. Thanks, Kitty.
Kirchheis shard.
Again?
Kirchheis.
That's
Kirchheis
not help.
shard.
Again?
Kirchheis shard.
Again?
Bro.
Kirchheis shard.
Stop laughing! Again?
Keep your enemies close and me closer.
I'm going to write it bigger. That was a troll. Trolling myself.
I'm actually
Time's up.
Not
Reveal your answers.
too sure.
Dots for the eye.
Oh, is that what it said? Damn.
Oh no.
I almost got there.
That's pretty close.
That's pretty close.
Mac loves shard. What did Kitty write?
Oh, I have an A. Oops.
I'm cracked.
Cachette.
Is it... Is that actually what it's called?
I'm cracked.
You're actually really good.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Kirchheis. Kirchheis? Kirchheis.
Her...
Are you 5 from 5?
Yeah.
You are, eh?
Rusty's the
Big
best.
dog.
That's all we got today.
Sheesh.
a little bit too good on the old
Kirchheis?
spelling bee there,
That
mate.
word's going to annoy me now. I'm just going to be thinking about how to say that.
Kirchheis? Kirchheis? Still couldn't hear it.
I feel like you could do this all with Orn upgrades, and that alone would be a
I
challenge.
thought it was something charged.
Shard,
Because
yeah.
Something because I know it's a charge. Like, is it the one that charges up
Yes.
when you run it? That's why I was getting baited.
Yeah.
I thought
It's the component for like a rapid fire.
it's a component for all. You know, all the ones where like,
Which, by the
charge
way,
up with
did
the
you
movement?
know
the old Storm
it's
Razor.
rapid space fire cannon?
Is it?
It's not rapid fire space cannon.
No hyphens in there.
No. Oh, I'm saying it's a cannon. Right? A fire cannon.
You're a
specifically.
cannon, mate. You're an absolute
Anyway,
cannon. You're
it's
a
a
weapon.
rapid
Whatever,
fire
That's
cannon.
what I'm saying.
Fire
By the way,
red.
look, giving me a board skim. Wait, are you
There
going
you
to
go,
do
mate.
some art?
You can just keep it.
You-
Just keep
you
it.
can do
I'll
some
just
art.
draw
Just
some
keep
art.
it,
Let's see what
mate.
happens.
Look,
Let's
we're
get
going
creative.
Hang on to
to
that
move
one.
forward a little bit. Of course, you guys at home get to participate in the broadcast as per usual from the fans. We love you. Hashtag LCO to go for those submissions or just find the post on the LCO Twitter at LCO to go find that. And of course, today we're asking how do you deal with tilt. Look, me, I'm an emotional eater. That's one way to do it. If I'm like, oh, I always come up with like, oh, I need a dare ass coffee. I need to grab some 3 meals on menu log just to get a little bit of extra energy. That's the issue, not me. It can't be me. It has to be my teammates. Keep queuing until you win. That's the best way to overcome tilt. 100%.
Bars.
No one else wants to tell their way real quick?
Yeah. To not tilt.
I just go out and touch grass.
Just give me touches grass.
Where are you?
I smell my cat. You know how like cats sleep and they turn into a little ball? I just put my face under her belly and I and after that deep breath, I'm no longer tilted.
What's a cat smell like?
My cat.
I do hug my dog, right? Like I get what you're saying. I've just never said it that way.
Yeah. That was really
You know what I
passionate.
mean?
Hey, I respect the passion.
I've never just like. I feel better.
And that's why my cat hates me.
Love that for you, Kitty.
I'm going to move the conversation on because this could go down south real quick. We have submissions. Thank fuck. Let's move on. Who's sending them in? Let's see, real quick. At Os Carbon, my mind is a fortress. Nothing gets to me, especially not a Melg.
I think Mel gets to him the most.
You reckon?
And Mel's living in Tim's head rent-free.
Okay.
Was it a Melg that had Tim on his window?
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in his player interviews.
Do love
Those
that.
were the days.
Absolutely love that. We got another one to have a quick look at as well. Who do we have as number 2? Oh, we got a Melg. Make fun of Davidson. I'll go and tilt a lot. Look, everyone seems to be making fun of him. Who was it?
I was going to say as well, with a Melg now he's on the screen. I did see him in chat yesterday when we were discussing the Bard players. Are they enemies? And Melg said yes. So
What?
thought we were friends. We are now enemies.
That's cool. Frenemies. Frenemies are fun.
Just enemies
It's
now,
kind
I
of
think,
like,
for
you
now.
know, we got frenemies all throughout the league. I think we have one more to have a quick look at as well. Let's see who we have here at Solan11. I hope I said that right, sorry. It's simple. You just keep playing more games until you win and aren't tilted anymore. There are absolutely no repercussions to the strategy. I was trying to think of a repercussion, but
That's your ult account.
I just can't.
It's the same answer as you.
An alt account.
Play till you win.
You have to play so much on an alt account before you can play.
No,
Rusty.
that's your alt Twitter account.
Oh,
You're sharing an opinion.
of course, eh? Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Either way, look, let's jump on into the first game of the day. Let's talk Direwolves first. They're up against the bottom of the leaderboard, but it's still probably going to be one of the closest games of the day. Skimmy, tell me what this team is going to be cooking up in the kitchen.
Yeah, really curious to see how they bounce back from yesterday because I felt like they had a phenomenal performance, especially from Zoranus. That Gnar was doing wonders, right? Managed to pull off a 1v2 tower defense in the top side, groups up with the rest of the team. Massive gold lead, huge item advantage, decisive ults to try and catch out individuals in some pretty rough spots. And ultimately, it felt like the Bruisers had a big ask in this game. We saw not only Zoranus do the same, but also Chippies, right? So the Bruisers are top laners, despite it being a little bit of a passive affair at times up in their lane. Certainly have a massive contribution when it comes to grouping up. Decoy also, I felt like, had a really good showing on the Nami, really making sure that this Lucian Nami continues to be right up there at the top of the table despite the patch changes. Trying to promote some other options out there, but I think, once again, we're just not really seeing too much from this team in terms of a grand reveal. They're sticking with a lot of those core picks. Namely, it really seems to be Zoranus that flexes the most. So, given how much Peace showed us yesterday and how strong they look, I would love to see them come out guns blazing and say, if we can get a win here today, don't need to worry at all about any kind of tiebreaker situation.
Yeah, that top lane matchup is going to be one to watch for sure after what we saw yesterday. Both these players up towards the top, definitely in contention for that Dare MVP, unless, of course, they play bad today. But I guess we'll see. Anyway, Kitty, you want to take us through the Peace roster again? Tell us exactly who we're going to be watching, who we should be watching, and who popped off yesterday.
Well, like you said, all eyes are on this top lane matchup. We have Leisure on his Camille debut from yesterday, and it did wonders for the side of Peace. But of course, with the rest of his teammates, Shaka, Nuli, Cheon, and Cloud, they all had an exceptional performance as well. Even though it was their first game in the LCO, I believe we're in week 3 now, and technically we're on the last day for single round robin. But Cheon and Cloud, I feel like they're... What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Okay, well, during the single round robin, Trayon and Cloud had really good synergy in this ball lane. Although they had a really strong ball lane duo, it was the Varus and Karma, which obviously means high priority in that bottom side, meaning early dragons. I think Nuli during these team fights, he was just tossing out so much damage with his build, and he was just unkillable the entire fight. And he's just that traditional mage play that is so reliable we need to see in the LCO.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Nuli played really, really well. Not only like navigating Kiste and keeping a hold of him, but also just his mobility without having to use a flash to try and reposition. Obviously steals away the Baron at 100 HP too. I feel like, yeah, definitely a team to watch out for.
There's just so much from this game yesterday. It was a thriller, and I honestly hope we get exactly the same thing today, Rusty.
I certainly agree that seeing Peace start in such hot form as well is very exciting for the progression of this league, because right now, and we said this earlier, there has only been one game of Peace, but it feels like a 4-team race now, which is extremely exciting, right? And then you've got Bliss there as the contenders and all these other teams starting to improve and learn as they play. That's so good for coming into a quick playoffs with 4 potential title contenders already.
Yeah.
4 potential, or if we get a stacked group into playoffs, maybe 3 potential.
How good is it, though, without
Just
going
putting that
into a
out there.
season and saying, oh, this team's going to win? Like, they're the super team, and we're kind of just like waiting for the inevitable to happen, right? When we're actually going to a playoff situation, thinking, hey, there's like 4 or 5 teams that could really, on their day, win the BO3, BO5.
Wow, the 2 super teams made it to finals? No way! Ain't no way!
The four super teams. Look, we have our man, Zorenus, to have a quick chat to. Kitty, he's your mate. You want to ask the first question?
He's not my mate. We're not mates. He's just some other guy on the other
Sorry.
side of the screen. I'm joking. What's up, Cameron? Hope you had a good rest after yesterday's game, of course, but we need to talk about what happened. So you guys dropped your first game up against PGG. So what really denied you guys from that victory?
Look, we kind of had the game in our hands and we may have thrown it away. But to be completely honest, like, I'm not too upset about the loss. Like, we learned a lot from that game, and the fact that we had the game in a winning position and then we threw it away is like something that like is pretty good for the future, right? In terms of how we stack up against other teams.
You want to take a photo?
What?
You want to take a photo?
Of what?
Of us.
Of you, sure.
No, of us together.
I don't know.
Man,
I don't
look,
know if you
you
deserve
made
that
it weird, man.
privilege.
Don't worry. All right, no photos. It's too good. No paparazzi today. Either way, how are you feeling about this top lane? Did you get to witness the power coming out of Peace yesterday? And are you prepared? Or do you think it's going to be a bit surprising for you?
Well, I did see some of the game. I didn't watch the entire game. I mean, I'm not too sure what to expect going into it, but I'm just going to play my game and hopefully that's good enough to win.
Yeah, you played an exceptional game on that Gunnar as well. So, of course, we're going to send you off for today, and best of luck up against the very mysterious Piece. Good luck.
Thank you.
All I'm saying is we got this Polaroid camera and we're going to be putting Polaroids up on the wall. I feel like it's a great experience to be on the wall, to know you're a part of something, a part of a wholesome movement behind the scenes here on the LCO. Zorenus, look,
That was a great sell.
unaccepted is
That's not what Zoran has heard. Zoran has heard, you want to pick? Do you want a photo, bro?
Yeah.
Zoran's like, no.
Well, no, he should have known that.
That sold me, but like Zoranus now needs to know that.
Well,
He hit you with a long
he's
what?
uninvited.
Yeah.
Uninvited. No more.
Nah, it
No
happens.
longer.
It happens,
Look,
mate.
side select ready. Let's see who's on what side, who won the coin flip. We got Peace picking the blue side, putting Pryor on the first pick, Rusty. Who is getting that one?
That's a very good question, isn't it? Right now,
We still don't know.
all we've been seeing is Varus first pick.
It's Cheon
so
again.
it's going to probably just be Cheon picking Varus. It's either that or a Caitlyn at the moment.
Yep.
But we've also seen that taken away from him because he was a very good Caitlyn. So I don't really have many expectations from seeing them on blue side. I just want to see another good game from Peace so that we know that when we get to the next round, they are the same team that we saw this week.
They certainly will be. Now let's have a look at what you guys want with the Dare fan vote. Of course, that's Twitch points. You want Twitch points? Put them on. You know, have a bit of a live a little. That's what I meant to say. Either way, put them up there. Rusty, point to it.
Oh, I didn't get told if I was in the right spot yesterday.
Nah, well,
roughly,
look,
roughly there.
No one told you, so you don't know if you're there or not.
Atop the dare fridge.
Up there. Up there. Press the button. Put your points on. Get more points or lose more points. Who knows? Because Peace are insane. Direwolves are insane. And only one team can win. Kitty, who have you picked to win in the Predickies?
The Direwolves. And everyone picked Direwolves on this first page.
Did they?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the second page would be Peace Bias because you've been just praising them ever since their debut game last night. But I think when it comes to these new teams, right? Yes, Wager had a really good performance on that Camille, but I'm not too sure in his champion pool just quite yet, especially when he is up against Zoranis, when we know he has the biggest champion pool when it comes to any top laner we have in the LCO. So if you only have one-dimensional when it comes to your playstyle, Zoranis can really easily just shut you down through there.
I'm going to say Direwolves are the underdogs. After what we saw from Peace yesterday, I feel like Peace are just absolutely insane at the moment, and I did forget to change my predictions before the broadcast. So I'm living with that. You know, I'm with Direwolves, and if I get that wrong, then I'm getting that wrong.
You keep being so fake to Chaz. Chaz is listening right now.
Yes, Kitty.
Chaz is in the lobby, not watching the broadcast, getting ready to play a game, Kitty. Would not watch the broadcast back and get angry at me about that.
Surely not.
No, never.
It's not like Chaz to watch back his games.
No. Or at me on Twitter about dumb stuff. But look,
No,
at the same time, fortunately, we get to see this banger. Let's call it up the runner-up to the match of the week. Play out right now. Champ Select's ready.
Beautiful. What a see. Yeah, can Peace really make it 2 from 2 up against the heavy hitters in the league? They'll start on blue side once again. Direwolves looking to bounce back from their defeat yesterday, having lost their perfect streak. So a big ask, really, to see, okay, were they as good? Was that a fluke? Did Chiefs underperform? All these questions swelling around as to what did that look like yesterday, and what could it mean for today, especially with tiebreakers looming?
Yeah, and we can start the first place that was mentioned, right, which is blue side. What does that mean? Varus isn't actually going to be the first pick this time. Now, we've seen teams in other regions, if you don't go for the Varus, they'll pick Varus Caitlyn. You know, things like that do happen. Heimerdinger's still up, however, right, there's still drafts that can be okay for the side of Peace. We also know that Cloud loves Karma, and we also know that Shaka loves utility champions. So Sejuani is prime real estate for him. Also takes it away from Direwolves. Poltron does love a good Sejuani. It's probably best in slot jungler right now, and then you just have Wukong, which is like just a team fight option. You have Vi, which is like a pick, but can team fight as well. But it's even we've seen Sejuani's handling Vi like it's nothing. So we'll see where Direwolves choose to go here. Top prio.
Wow,
that's
right
interesting.
Just locks in a Jax, doesn't he? I'm actually really glad to see such a shake-up in this draft. The fact that Nami's been banned away, that Sejuani's been taken by the side of Peace 2, that Direwolves will have to reveal something a little bit different on their last day of play. But it's actually locked in Jax so early.
We spoke about the Sivir changes yesterday, specifically changes to itemization, of course, being on patch 13.1b. So we did say that Sivir might get seen a little bit more, and like mentioned, Karma as a strong preference for Peace. Now, Decoy can play melee champions. He loves the enchanters, though, so this could just be something that gets matched by a Lulu, you know, etc. Down in bottom lane, Soraka, like we saw yesterday from Bliss, it's always possible. Got the Varus there and the flexibility there. For Peace's side, the other option is a top laner, just to match the Jax. Like if they really wanted to go like a Fiora before the bans, right, and just have like a skill matchup locked in, that was always going to be a possibility for them. But what I do know about Peace's top laner is that he doesn't just play Camille, does play the Fiora, does play the Gwen, you know, can play the Gnar, has got plenty of choices there, and there's no way they ban him out with these 4 or 5 bans with only the Jace gone.
Absolutely, and we did see a lot of those banned away yesterday, right? Like the Fiora, like the Gwen. So it's exciting to see what could be possibly played in that top half of the map. Alistair comes out. We asked the question, would it be an Enchanter match? But we do know that Decoy loves a bit of brawling in the bot lane, played a lot of Braum also in times gone by. So it's cool to see that the melee supports are back here.
And we actually said this yesterday during the Chiefs game when they locked in Sivir, where there is Sivir, there is Alistar. So you have to really respect that matchup because you can't use the spell shield on a full combo, and he will stun you and lock you down, and it's very difficult to play this matchup, especially if there's kill threat from anywhere else in the lane, if the AD's strong or jungler's ganking and has that kill threat there. So right now, especially in teamfights with a Jax and a Varus running around, the Sivir can get locked up. Just waiting to see where the rest of the team goes. You know, what is it the Poltron's going to play here? Because this isn't a Poppy angle. Elise and Kindred are gone. Vi's been banned away, and the Sejuani's been picked. the Wukong is the obvious
It seems absolutely.
option, right?
Be a nice way to default back to it, unless they tap into something like the Zac in the jungle if they need some AP, depending on which direction they decide to try and put this one. I am quite curious. We'll see where it does go ultimately, as they ban Cassante as their last option. So
You could actually Nocturne jungle here, potentially. It has a lot of value into the Sivir spell shield if you're coordinating,
sure.
because it gets rid of it, right? Now that gets a full combo off. Very curious to see where they choose to go. You mentioned Cassante, Silas going to be taken from Nuli as well. Obvious choice with Alistar, right?
Absolutely.
It's
like
the
the bread and
Alistar
butter.
tax. Yeah.
You have to always deny that one away. And a quick reminder, as Peace haven't banned anything away in their second half of the draft, they had lost 2 of their bans coming into today, having used a bug last night. So, nothing that they can deny away here from the side of Direwolves. We have some pretty clear options based on what we've seen so far for counters.
So, for the side of Direwolves, obviously no hesitation, the Wukong will be locked in. We spoke about Wukong or Nocturne as the 2 obvious choices. The question is where Chaz chooses to go as a mid lane pick. Now, in terms of scaling mages, heaps of choices.
Absolutely, yeah.
Still pretty much everything up and available bar that Silas. We know that Chaz does enjoy a Talia game, but he's also a very good Rise player. You know, Kud Azir, you know, etc. Has got a depth and a wealth of champions.
There it is.
As Wager says, it is Fiora time. The camera is as
He's actually
tilted as
tilting
someone
already.
in top lane will be 5 minutes in. Well,
Oh, he fixed himself already.
that's crazy.
That's from the fans.
Hands-free fixed. Oh.
Look at this. The technology we have these days. I'm really excited for this though, right? Because every single time we've seen a Fiora,
Okay.
you're always expecting something a little bit magical, right? Is it as the response?
Does Chaz LeBlanc or something aggressive is my only remaining question. Because you can kind of handshake pick a mage, as it does get a little bit more priority in a lot of those matchups, but you'll be fine, you'll scale.
Well, my question, right, is do we go back to a meta of old, like a Corki, a Syndra, an Orianna, anything just to go, oh, let's just match and scale and have a bit of fun? Or does Chaz say, I don't really care. All I play is Talia, Akali, and Rise.
So that's like, those are the 2 trains of thought, right? LeBlanc fits the Akali side of this. Silas is another choice, but that's gone. So it is more of a kill threat style lane, right? Much more about being an assassin. Not going to be as strong in the lane itself, but has got that constant kill threat there, especially at 6, especially if you run Ignite. Complements the rest of the team really nicely as well, because it's a mostly physical damage team. Akali, the single magic source, does enjoy that. And they've got engaged between their support, their jungle, and their AD. They've got the flexibility of split pushing for Zoranus. Can potentially team fight with the Jax as well. Jax by no means a bad team fighter. And then the Akali gets to play for flanks, right? Play for team fights, look for those off angles, because the rest of the squad is perfectly fine. However, Peace have a very similar composition idea, right? It is a Sivir and an Azir that will be standing most likely next to each other or near each other. If you engage on Sivir, you get pushed back with the Emperor's Divide.
Yeah.
Sivir free hits in team fights. It kind of just is a very simple bread and butter team fight recipe.
And there's no Olaf. Like yesterday, it can
True.
just literally run through your composition, even if you have those outs, that mobility, those defensives, right? So definitely going to be a lot more nuanced, very much front to back from what I can see here. And I'm really curious to see how they can navigate around the fact that if Fiora comes into action, right? Because we've not really seen too many games descend into your, typical 4-1 split. It has very much been a case of attend lanes when we can, try and find TP advantages where useful. Otherwise, let's just group up and be a better team fighting team on the night.
I will say the major point of difference perhaps between both rosters is the spike timings. You would say that Direwolves side spike really nicely at 1 item.
Yeah.
Jax obviously continues to scale, but Direwolves spike really early, they spike really hard, especially if it's a lethality Varus, where the Sivir, the Azir, they want more items. They want 2 items, they want 3 items, right? They want to hit late game so they can just tear apart team fights with ease.
Well, let's do it, Rusty. Let's load into the final day of this initial round robin to kickstart what is really a really exciting game at the top half of the table. I say that based on what we've seen. But right now, Peace is sitting dead last. A win here today would certainly cause a few headaches. If the rest of the results play on out, we can certainly work our way towards that 4-way tiebreaker. But for Direwolves, a win here would certainly put them in good stead to guarantee at least top 2.
That's right, for the fans at home that want those tiebreakers, you are cheering for Peace. Direwolves, of course, the local team.
Minions have spawned.
A lot of members who have gone abroad and have returned back to Oceania, reunited with Praedyth and then the former Direwolf squad of Zoranus and Poltron combined with both of them. Very dangerous squad. We've seen some really big moments, even in their loss yesterday. Zoranus looked fantastic on that Gnar. Poltron's been really stable. And they've been able to have fairly solid early games, but the primary focus for Direwolves has always felt like it's around mid-game. It's always kind of felt like it's around their one-item spikes. As you can see, of course, at level 1, bit of activity from Wei Zhe. He's going to have a look. Red buff, nothing there, places of wood.
I'm curious to sort of understand a bit more from what Zoranus mentioned in his interview, right? Because they have said in interviews gone by, himself or even Poltron, that there's a lot of communication, a lot of chatter going on. That's something that needs to try and really knuckle down going into playoffs. You see some of the team fights that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
A little bit disjointed, right? Some people saying, I'm going in for the Dragon. I'm going to look to try and peel off. I'm going to try and take the 1v1. We saw that with Poltron going for the Smite, with Chaz playing, you know, Gold D and everybody else trying to take down Dongy. So curious to see how that looks up against a team like Peace, who seem to be very much, you know, that hive mind.
Nice little play from Zoranus there so far. Q timing actually dissipates, so Wei Zhe is going to miss out on some bonus damage. There is a bit of a game in top. You heard it from some LCO interviews as well. It's kind of a 50-50 on where that Vital spawns as to how the level 1 lane plays out. If you get really lucky and it's facing you, it's pretty free to trade.
Yeah.
But Zoranus is able to control the wave quite nicely. Got 2 first and is going to push the wave in. It is also the Grasp Scorch Fiora, which has a lot more lane control. The major point between the two is that it is not going to be a Flash Fiora, it is the Ghost. Something that we've been seeing a lot more of in top lane, honestly. Starting to go pretty much 50-50 with the flashes. Shaka finds him.
Coming in for the invade right now into Poltron, in a lot of trouble right now. You'd imagine a flash for flash trade. May just be content to try and go for it, but no, Poltron will not let that one up go for free.
Was Shaka's smite up?
Jumps back in again.
Really interesting,
Get
Skibby.
away.
Walks in, definitely was going to win the 1v1, but I think they were both maybe a couple of seconds of having their smite, and Shaka holds on to that. Does mean he's going to have smite for this game, so he's able to come back. 600 HP, wallops it, make sure that he gets the Raptors. Look, you earn the red buff with a fair smite, Poltron, but we made the play, and I'm getting something. Very obvious path there. But Poltron respects it, immediately goes to the bot scuttle, says we're not fighting anymore, he's got no health.
Bit surprised. Didn't go for the flash to try and get the kill. You did see that Chaz did the inline track to try and back him up.
So something that we clearly have missed in bottom lane, Skimmy, is a transaction of some summoner spells.
Oh, here's a bit of a trade going on right now as the headbutt pole goes right onto Cloud's head. There's the passive stun coming out from the Alistair as well. As a lot of damage goes out into this Karma, piercing arrow for good measure too, as Praetor's mana now becomes a little bit low.
And the reason that those summoners being used earlier is an important point is Poltron's going to find Chaeyon. They're still recalling anyway. A little bit of a dicey situation for Chaeyon if he chooses to stay under the turret here. Decoy could look for the dive, especially with that ignite up. Might hold that conversation as Shaka looking top.
Yeah, that's a lot of minions right now that Zoranus has to try and attend to. Thankfully for him, he can jump right back to a caster minion. Shaka comes in, going to look to try and enable the passive stun in the zone. And that means that the Fiora can jump in, look for a knock-up, look for the damage. Can't get the kill though.
If Zoranus goes back to base, we'll just be able to teleport in and shouldn't miss too many of these minions, if any at all. It feels like really was just affording a full push in here for the Fiora. Nice little bit of assistance from Shaka above all else. Cloud actually going to walk back in, trade super aggressively with his health bar, does have refillable potions. Zoranus stayed.
Yeah, Cloud's
They're gonna
lost 50%. The dive is on right now. Uh-oh, this is looking really good for Zoranus if he can get the tower aggro onto Shaka. Makes it a 1-for-1.
Now that is a 1-for-1 that is good for Zoranus, but he's going to miss the minions under the turret, and the kill still went to Wei Zhe on the Fiora. So it's not actually a gain by any means. In fact, it is still just a loss for that Jax. Putting a lot of emphasis towards this top lane. Makes sense, right? It's a skill matchup. It can swing either way if one player gets snowballed or gets fed. But because they both get the kills, I don't think anyone's gone too far out of control. Maybe just a little bit faster on 6 for this Fiora. And no teleport needing to be used. I think above all else is the biggest win here. Haven't had a chance to talk about bottom because fights happen cross-map every single time. But Decoy used his flash super early, presumably level 2, looked for the play in one of the most common ways to play against an Enchanter as an Alistar is you just have to hold the L at level 1. The second you hit 2, threaten the all-in, have the Glacial Augment, and if you've used the flash, you've got the Hex Flash possibilities,
That's
right?
it.
That always makes you very threatening. Flash comes back anyway.
A flash trade for you is always going to be winning.
Exactly.
does get quite spicy now in the top lane. Wager returning with a Sheen in hand now. Certainly going to be feeling a lot stronger than before, as Chaz looks to try and unlock the map with a rare reprieve to run amok from the mid lane. Has to try and keep tabs as to what's happening to his jungler right now, because Poltron's in trouble, down to 50. A flash roll from Cloud, there's the damage. And there is the execution.
Super nicely done from Peace. I mean, just across the board, the fact that they're supporting their mid laner in the area, they find the Wukong. Poltron's just been kept at bay. He can't do anything. It starts with a red buff invade, it goes to the Raptors, he gets countered anywhere he looks. Chaz going to deal with Nuli in the mid lane and keep him away, but the Drake's secured and he gets escorted back to him if he needs anyway. Peace looking so good.
Great start for them. 2 kills to 1. Get the first Drake as well, and return right back to the bot lane. All those flashes back up and available once more. Let's see what the Alistar can do to try and navigate this one. If he gets baited into a false sense of security as Shaka comes in, instant flash away from Decoy there.
Decoy didn't want to get hit by the second part of the W as Wedge is ulted top lane. The Fiora is ulted. Zoranus has a lot of control of this 1v1 it seems like now, but might just afford himself a free reset if he wants. Fiora, we spoke about this before, but the fact that he didn't teleport to top lane means that these trades, as long as he doesn't die, it's actually favorable.
Yeah.
Because every single piece of health that's traded means you can teleport back in and feel stronger for it. Like even in this situation, you catch the wave. If you want to win top, you just teleport back after this wave and see if you can keep Zoranus here. Should be nice for him. But yeah, no flash from the Alistar. Doesn't really matter, right, in the end? The Hex Flash Warrior.
Cloud is in such a bad spot right here. Surrounded by 3 members at once. They decide to flash in for the kill. And Cloud is going to have to just sacrifice himself for that one. Chaz makes sure of it with the second charge of his ult. Zoranus now the target. Shaka running away. Decoy now making his way topside. Zoranus is gone, but that's a double kill for the Akali. The fight continues, and the Emperor's Divide does just that. Zoranus is going to fall on down, goes away as Nuli. And Azir is on the board now to try and match this Akali. Poltron suddenly becomes the next focus. Not level 6, whereas Shaka is. Back in base, what does it matter? As really, the fight should just dissipate.
So nicely played by the mid laner of Peace, working with his top lane. They're still hunting for Decoy.
They certainly are. Decoy really has relegated himself to a side angle, saying which way does it go, and ultimately it's the Fiora that picks it up.
And they just continue to chase them down. This is a play Direwolves we're looking at, right? The collapse comes in from Peace. Direwolves have numbers and reinforcements that come into the play, but an Alistar can't exist if he has to get through an Emperor's Divide, and it timed perfectly by Nuli stops any kind of Alistar involvement. And suddenly it is just a separated spite. It becomes a smaller skirmish. And the Fiora and the Azir take over. Chaz having a crack.
Certainly are having a crack, certainly carrying it on as well. We've seen this matchup play out in the mid lane before, right? The fact the Azir should just be able to bully you from afar. Feels like a bit of a counter matchup in that way, but you can unlock yourself on the map to try and be aggressive.
But I will say the big note here is the Chaz now 2-0 on this Akali, right? It wasn't a one-way transaction. Direwolves still getting some kills, still getting some money in their pockets, much needed. We'll see this one more time because Cloud is the one who gets caught looking for Zoranus. Finds Poltron, exhausts him straight away, really important. Chaz has to flash because he's in the wrong direction or to get away from Shaka, whichever you'd prefer to say. We'll get the kill and the execute, but now Nuli comes in, right? They're going to kind of wait for the Alistar for Direwolves, see if they can kite it towards Decoy. Never mind.
Figure that point, because Rusty, we're in a situation where a flash has been burnt and Predator's not gone anywhere. He's managed to snipe away a kill. And that's a really good trade, all things considered, because it's not Cheyenne that picks it up, it's the Karma.
So much damage at the last second from Praetor. Really surprised that ends up being a 1-for-1. Cloud is in danger. Glacial Augment Alistar can just headbutt into the wall.
Yep, knocked up against the wall. Infinite CC here from a stun to a passive to a Cyclone 2. Cloud with the heal. And it just does not matter.
And he's okay. Mantra W saves him and does wonders. Shaka sit in top lane waiting for Zoranus to perhaps face check. It's just going to base. I think this is Peace communicating that they're so happy with the wave in top. They don't want to influence this at all. They don't want to die. They don't want to change the state of it. You know, one thing we can say about Shaka is the opposite of kill hungry. He puts zero effort into securing kills when it comes to lanes. He spends more time hovering and ensuring that what is good stays good and allows them to get to those win conditions as a team. seems like he is kind of the heart of the squad.
A very supportive style, which rings true, I suppose, as to how they started off their career as a support before switching to the role as a jungler.
Not something that Poltron would be unfamiliar with either in terms of styles. Does love to play facilitator in those team fights. Loves a good poppy game in there as well, which is funny coming from a Shaco player.
Certainly, yeah, bit of a conflicting style. Oh, item spikes start to come across. Now Chaz finds himself in a spot of bother. Forced to dash right back into the Shroud. That's an airball. And that's an ult to disengage away to safety. Chaz has bought himself a lifeline there.
That was actually really nicely done by Chaz. He gets pushed out of his Shroud by the Azir ultimate. The Emperor's Divide comes in, and then he just ults back into the Shroud. So finds a safe space. Sejuani ult tries to come through, but ultimately gets wasted. Direwolves, however, cannot make a counterpunch that's too strong, given that they don't have their Wukong ultimate just yet. Nor do they have Akali's, but they are making their way into the river.
That they certainly are. You mentioned before, Direwolves will spike really well on one item. Can they get in to try and contest this one? It's not to be the case. Poltron a little bit too far behind. Second Drake going the way of peace.
Afraid if not going to find the mark with that Q. Poltron moving towards bot lane with Decoy, but Shaka is here and they will see the Wukong.
Flash pole right on towards that Karma. Chain of Corruption goes out. Exhaust on the Varus in trouble. Poltron forced to disengage away, taking a 1v1 up against the Sejuani, but taken down by a flanking Sivir. Chain makes light work of it.
Poltron just goes for a really wide flank, finds himself a Sejuani. You know they're in the area and he walks in with half HP and still has the flash available.
There's goes so down much top. Action everywhere we go. Anywhere on the map, they're having a bit of a biff. As the challenge once again is laid down onto Zoranus, and he's feeling a little bit worse for wear now.
It feels like this roster of Peace is ghosting.
We're on, there is the ghost. He's looking for the vitals. He's dashing in, he's Sheen procking, and he's just killing. It's a cheeky solo, and Awasia's 3-0.
And case in point here, I think Peace is setting a standard of skill individually. They're saying if you want to play against us and beat us, you have to at least be this tall to enter. And they're trying to solo kill everyone.
Welcome to the Ferris wheel.
And so far, they've played against 2 of our top teams, and they are finding those opportunities. They're finding those moments.
Certainly are demonstrating their skill here. And if there's any concern about them going up against some of the lower end teams to start off their campaign, it hasn't really been a concern whatsoever.
Reminds me of watching Topoon play against everyone when he was on the Chiefs.
Sure.
Right? Just someone who just constantly finds solo kills, constantly deals with you 1v1, doesn't let you play the game, makes you play him.
Yeah, Topoon was such a special talent. Would always be up there, like top 10 solo kills in the world. Always keen for a bit of a fight, bit of a punch on. Zoranus has used that TP once again to get back to the lane. Wave is pushing against him, and everybody's going to reveal themselves now.
3 top lane, but only 3 minions top lane as well. As the gambit continues between the Jax and the Fiora. At this stage, however, a 3-0 Fiora is only really ahead when it comes to Boots of Lucidity. If we're comparing the two directly, Jax still has rushed that Divine Sunderer himself, but is sitting pretty in that top lane. Things to be said for the rest of the map as well here, Skimmies. We're nearing our mythic item completions for Shaka and for Cloud, but the mythics are done for the Sivir and the Azir. Starting to ramp up.
Wasia cutting the wave as we see here, and actually entertaining the fight up against Poltron. The fight also breaking out in the mid lane too. Chaz forced to flash away. Decoy hot on pursuit, no flash on Hex. Shaka airballs again, doesn't seem to matter, the fight continues. In that tri-push, 2-man pole, knocked them up, bouncy castle style. Can they find a kill though?
Zero.
Emperor's Divide was massive, but doesn't deny the archer from afar and Praetor.
It stops the fight, it halts the play from Direwolves, but they'll still get the 2 kills. And that is what we're expecting to see from this Direwolves squad. When they hit their stride, they get their items and they start to deploy on the map together. They have looked like they're at their best. They find an opportunity to prey upon Peace, who are making a lot of plays at the same time. Mid lane fights at the same time as top lane fights. Fiora trying to 1v1 a Wukong, which to be fair is going to work, but is now mispositioned. The rest of Peace collapse there, so they group up. We'll see how this happens one more time. It's Chaz looking for Cheon, and 3 members strong of Peace just get routed. They just get pushed towards the rest of the squad. Chaz will flash, but the fact that Zoranus is here And Poltron, of course, lucky to dodge that ability, just get zoned out by it, but it doesn't matter, the Jax can engage. Right, the Alistar can follow up, they find their target straight on the Cloud. They'll get Shaka with a nice little arrow from Praetor. Perhaps could have been more if the Emperor's Divide didn't come through.
Such a crucial ultimate in a compact space like that, but by that point the damage had already been done. And the ranged advantage proving to be a little bit too strong. Direwolves though have a single mind, and that is to triage the lane of the Fiora. 4 members collapsing. Chaz a little bit too far away right now, but that is the Alistar stun. But you just can't catch the Fiora.
Poltron no ulti, right? So headbutting him towards it, unfortunately, doesn't do too much. He's just playing with them for the moment. Praetor.
Oh,
Praetor.
He's tried.
I love the idea. Love the idea. The riposte wasn't there, so it was a free kill if it connects. Consider the cost of looking for that kill, however, as a Herald gets summoned. Mid's gone. Shaka's playing zone defense. Just going to protect the flank. And spots them now, so he's able to keep them at bay, and Peace can disengage with 1 hit, 2 turrets. It's gone.
And that's it, exactly your point, right? The opportunity cost was so high, having missed out on that kill, not claiming the bounty, to then losing 2 mid turrets. Now, on towards the 3rd Dragon spawn. Inferno Rift is what we have. They would love to deny an early soul point here for the side of Peace.
Fiora's already grouped up and in the area. Teleport is not available for Zoranus, who has to walk here. So give him 10 seconds before he can even get to the fight. They see him mid, they go for it.
Ult on 1, Praetor in trouble. Not for the meantime, though. The fight continues, looking to try and get that dragon as quickly as they can. Poltron's still there. Focused on this one, and he's taken it. They've got this one. Now Decoy is going to be the one to fall on down. Zoranus lurking in the shadows, finds out in his ear, goes in for the damage, gets scooped into 4. He's in trouble, forced the flash, and takes out Sejuani, but it doesn't matter because Peace are answering back. They're finding more kills. Praetor, in retaliation with the last stretch of mana, is able to take down the Karma.
The Australian sniper from the very far corner. Praetor has done that a couple of times now in these fights, and he is finding these kills. And credit to Direwolves, they are going toe-to-toe with Peace, and they are definitely keeping up with them. But the same could be said for the Peace boys as they come to the Drake. And again, decision to burn this comes from seeing the Jax mid, knowing there's no teleport. They'll go straight for the play. They don't see where the Jax is once he gets to this fight, so just keep that in mind. But Decoy goes for the engage. Chaz gets exhausted, chooses to just walk away. Poltron will hit the smite. Decoy has to be a sacrifice. And then they try and push forwards, but surprise, there's a Jax. You push him into the team, he's just going to kill the target that the rest of Direwolves were killing anyway. And quietly achieving throughout all of this, dealing damage, was Mr. Mark Lewis, who was aiming for Azir.
Nearly a double, as you say. A great flash away there from Norlee, but also the chain of corruption in a compact spot like that. Peace were left watching. Well, here we go then, fast approaching the 20-minute mark. Early soul point denied. 4K gold lead is still the case in hand here for Peace, having claimed 3 turrets.
I do want to quickly reiterate the fact that Peace, when it comes to scaling, still with that Sivir and Azir, are pretty happy having an even game. And they are, in fact, 3,000 odd gold ahead. Their split pushing is going to be extremely powerful, with the Ravenous Hydra soon to be purchased as well by a wager. And meanwhile, quietly achieving is both of those carries in the scaling carry composition. You can see that through the total gold right now. There's Chon and Nuli at the top. Chaz threatening, definitely still going to be very powerful in this game. The Varus as well, 3-in-1 cheap items. It's going to have a lasting impact throughout this. And when we say that Peace scale, it doesn't mean that Direwolves don't. But it feels like when it comes to a 5v5 front-to-back team fight, you would rather have the Azir and the Sivir together on the Rift.
If
You would rather be Peace's comp.
Going to a late game affair, 4 or 5 items, you'd feel pretty confident for one an Azir and a Sivir can provide. Certainly not wrong, don't disagree with you on that. But it's how will these side lanes managed, especially when you've got a Fiora and a Jax in the game.
Yeah, and that is actually the big talking point, is there's a Jax and an Akali on Direwolf's side, and the Azir and the Sivir aren't mobile champions. They're relying on using their skills correctly. You make a mistake with the Emperor's Divide, you try and engage and it's mistimed, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is still a skill required to close this game out with any kind of lead or just scaling up. Direwolves still plenty of opportunities. I think they're just perhaps lacking in now a potential split push avenue. Might be looking more towards those team fights above all else. Decoy would like to hit level 11 so that they are just a very tanky comp. And he can work with Poltron when it comes to those engages. So I'd like to see Decoy try and instill a little bit more experience where applicable. No one else in the team needs experience desperately, so he can leech.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Fourth turret now, claimed there by the side of Peace. That'll do it for every single outer. Really opening up the map for a lot of phenomenal flanking options. As Asia going to deny away that blue buff from the opposition as well. Such a tough ask for Zoranus to try and handle this. You've seen it, where 4 members have come down to that lane and still managed to elude their pain and punishment. Will this be a game that goes down to a Dragon Soul? Will it be a game where we're flipping for Baron? It feels like a game where we're playing around TP timers more than anything.
It does feel like a game that's going to 35 minutes, though. That is the one thing that we will say with the way it's panned out so far. The fact that Dire will secured that third Drake in their pockets, denying that early soul condition. But also the fact that Drake is infernal. So everyone will be contesting every single one. Varus wants the infernal soul for sure. Just for the extra AD damage that he can deal with his arrows that he's throwing out, let alone the soul for everybody in this game, right? Just having that innate value. Direwolves have planted their feet in the river first. Shark are fairly tanky, but is killable. And the rest of Peace aren't here just yet. Nuli has gone back to base with the teleport though. Should be able to group with the squad. And we begin the tango around the river.
And we certainly do. Now Chaz completely unspotted by the enemy red so far. Wasia coming in through the bottom side of the river right now, looking to try and create a bit of a pincer maneuver. Poltron in trouble, that's the clone, doesn't matter, not the time.
Or the stun.
Chaz goes in, as does Decoy. Look at the scoop. They've knocked them all up. Surely they win the team fight now. Cheon gets the kill, but falls on down. Shut down for Chaz. The carries are exploding from the side of Direwolves. And it is just a Sejuani in a dream to try and deny this Drake, but it feels so lost at this point.
Both teams, it feels like we shake hands and we say, let's fight it to Drake. Let's actually play for this objective, but go for the fight first. And Zoranus is a man possessed. He is single-handedly keeping them in losing games, and now he is single-handedly winning team fights. Watch the stun that comes out of this Jax once the fight truly kicks off. He finds absolutely everybody. Varus hits an arrow through all of them. The Wukong follows up, and Akali there with the flank. And I tell you what, that's a bit of a 1v9 angle there from Zoranus with that top engage. Direwolves lock it down. They'll get the Drake after, and just Shaka left to limp away.
Dirty amount of CC there to overlap and just lock you down for such a long period of time. 2 Infernal Drakes now starting to stack up here for the side of Direwolves. That damage really is going to complement the argument for scaling that you mentioned before.
Working on their third items now, Skimmy. These carries are starting to become a force to be reckoned with. But if the engage combos from Direwolves can work like that every time, there's no chance to deal damage, right? The Emperor's Divide is just used to try and divide people away from themselves. But then Chaz finds flanks like that. We have to really look at this next fight and what the setup and what the execution looks like, right? Because that was something that went so incredibly well for Direwolves there. They knew what they were after. Nice little attempt from Decoy. Doesn't matter too much. It's just a Sejuani.
A lot of flashes missing that. It's just the mid laners to have that available for
Here
them
he
to
goes.
try and make that outplay potential. Zoranus in
Okay.
trouble. In comes the Fiora. Oh, the counter strike! He's dead to turret.
dead.
Zoranus literally 1v9.
He tried. I mean, full credit to Wager. That was like an instant proc on the ultimate. He got all 4 vitals straight away. Then Zoranus just pressed E and said, "You're done." Was that it?
You tried.
You took your shot. Don't miss. Don't reach. Punishes him for that one. And now gets to go back to base with an extra 300 golden pocket and a black cleaver done as Direwolves will teleport him in. And On Vision goes straight to the Baron. Drawing
Chaz.
Peace into the play. Let's see who Chaz goes on.
Once again, hiding in the shadows. Instantly called out there by Nuli. In we jump. Cyclone. Shark is in trouble. No jungle, no smite, no Baron contest. Will they look for more though? Zoranus has bitten off a little bit more than he can chew down at 20%. Not interested anymore. In they go. Scoop right back. Go away. Chaz jumps in. Flash. And a kill. Still has R2 ready to try and fight a low member. Decoy maybe can stun. Rocket Belt for range. Cheon! Ooh, just barely survives there.
And I feel like you're seeing the makings of what Peace can do, but no cohesion, where Direwolves are a full team. They're playing like a full squad of 5. Praedyth has been quietly just achieving this whole time. Wedger respawns, teleports in and dies. And that feels like back-to-back deaths for a Fiora. It's going to hurt him. You watch this one more time. Nuli finds Chaz, yes. But the fight is baited in by Direwolves hitting the Baron at the start. Varus hits the chains and just steadily applies the damage. Zoranus does just zone and decoy. I mean, he finds an impossible angle here. It's amazing that Cheon didn't even know that he was there. Will suffer for this one, will die. But the rest of Direwolves are succeeding and almost gets walloped by Praedyth into the death chamber. But he's able to limp away.
What a game we have now, as the gold is now even, completely stabilized. As we bring up the total gold, we can see that now Chaz is top of the table. 6-0, a perfect game of Akali.
The thing I will say as well for Peace is they're taking these fights mutually. You know, like it is something that Direwolves are forcing and they're saying, let's do it. We'll hold the thought for the moment. Does seem like it's just gonna fizzle out. But the main point I want to bring up when I say this is that they are just finishing 3rd items now, right? Like Cheon's just got that Infinity Edge.
Yeah.
You know, they are just getting to these item break points where they could be considered even more powerful, but they're Peace. They want to fight. You know, they are going to take these fights, and that's something that Direwolves must know coming into this game. And they've drafted a comp that scales, or rather spikes with cheaper items, you know, a little bit earlier on.
Bring the fight to them before they can scale
up.
up.
They want to fight us, we'll just fight them when we're stronger.
Well, as you mentioned, the 3 items intact here for the Sivir. Now Chan does have his flash up and ready to go. They're going to straight away start up this Baron. They have a lot of damage for it.
They certainly do. Pulling Chaz to the play, though, they didn't get to force the teleport out of him. So keep in mind that with the Drake coming up in under a minute, it's about 10 seconds, 15 seconds away. Peace have put all of their eggs in the Baron basket. Seems like they are willing to sacrifice one Drake to get pressure, if not vision control around here. But Poltron by himself just clears the vision. Will walk away. They're going to hit Baron now because Drake is up and being hit.
Peace's DPS comparatively to Direwolves is so much higher. They can definitely sneak this one in.
Look at the movements. Jack's not here. No teleport, though.
Look at it go. Poltron in trouble. Instantly stunned and deleted. Good luck, Smite stealing. Can they get it? They can't. Chaz tries to be a hero. He tries to pretend he's got a smite button. The Baron say you can go. Or rather, Peace say you can go for the dragon. We'll just pick up Baron for free.
Yeah, and Direwolves, in a sense, have just taken the trade. They didn't put extra effort into contesting the Baron. And perhaps this is a situation of we know we have an Infernal Soul with 4 Infernal Drakes.
Would be huge.
In 5 minutes' time. That we're willing to weather the Baron, right? And just get through it. Push waves out. Don't give Peace an opportunity to make an abundance of gold, and don't make a mistake in the next couple of minutes. We'll see how that plays out, as we might have a 1v1 here. We will have a 1v1 here.
He's looking for the vitals. He's proccing him. He's dashing, hoping, and ultimately just could not get it done. Zoranus going to TP in there, but for Chaz, the perfect KDA ruined.
And that is a death for a cannon. Quite simply, Chaz goes down trying to take the cannon. He may say worth. We'll see how it plays out. Those Direwolves in a push have been spotted.
Genetic Corruption starts it off. In goes the CC, layered beautifully. 3 members onto Shaka, but his health bar hasn't moved. Cheon's has, though, instantly decimated as the Wukong finds 2.
The back and forth from both of these teams. The Fiora puts in work and says, you've made a mistake, let's capitalize. They would have had a Baron buff and be pushing. They end up dying for the chickens. Of all things, without knowing where Direwolves were. Peace are impatient. Now it's Nuli's turn.
Nuli's time to shine. Instant Emperor's Divide away. Can he Shurima shuffle to safety? Poltron in hot pursuit. Looking to try and lock him down. Flash on his head. There is the Zonias. Buying time. It doesn't matter as he comes out of stasis. He falls down to arrows.
Teleport from the Fiora. Perhaps looks for the Wukong here. It's the only choice, but Poltron can just dash back over the wall, so he's going to head out. Chips in the night. Except that they hit each other once. Zoran is going to take this top lane turret. Keep in mind here again, this is against the Baron buff. This is at a gold deficit. This is Direwolves feeling so strong with how they're playing, and from Peace. I think the Peace we saw yesterday looked refined, looked calculated. They weren't making mistakes. They weren't making errors. Today's Peace feels more brawl heavy.
Yeah.
Feels like they are happy to take these fights, and not many of them have gone well. The individual fights have, but the second they've been grouping up as 3 or 4 members, Direwolves have been out team fighting them as a squad.
Certainly in terms of ability to lock down multiple members at once, Direwolves have a limitless amount of potential in that regard, and they've managed to find it time and time again, which has really been what's allowed them to be so successful.
Also, Cheon, in a position where he definitely wants to maximize his damage output, is feeling so threatened by the Direwolves squad that he's building a Guardian Angel instead of a Last Whisper item.
Yeah.
So he's not going for a Lord Dominic's Regard as his fort. It is going to be the Guardian Angel. I feel like that's a clear sign of how he is feeling in this game, because obviously there's armor on the Direwolves side. He wants to shred them. His goal in team fights is to scale up and just deal damage. But he's got to deal with a Varus that he can't touch, a Jax that's killing him and has a Zonias just quietly.
That's exactly my point, right? You got a Jax with his Zonias. Everybody wants stasis. Everybody wants to try and buy as much time as possible.
It's just so hard to survive, and he felt that in the last little fight that happened at the Raptors. No summoners right now as well, so the stopwatch value is going to have to be really high. And that's the other big thing here, Skimmy, when we look at those summoners. Shaka not having his flash is okay, but Cheon not having any of his summoner spells is risky. The only saving grace for him is that Zoranus is on a match timer with that flash, so perhaps a little bit less kill threat, but still so much kill threat.
Well, 33 minutes in, and we've got 1 minute on the countdown until a potential soul point here for Direwolves. 4 back to back to back. Infernal Dragons would be absolutely huge. Cyclone being burnt, however, there by Poltron.
Keep in mind that while they were just exchanging ultimates, one of them has got the Radiant Virtue to heal the rest of his team back up. Cheon also has a red buff. Decoy's damage will last and will stay with the Drake up soon. That could be meaningful. We'll see exactly what Praetors can get done before the Drake spawns, however. Big thing here before a fight potentially breaks out is vision. Where are wards, where are flanks? Shark are going to take an effort to clear this one out, keep them busy. Wade's just splitting.
Wade's just splitting and it has no TP. All in for the idea of baiting down Zoranus, who does have the TP, so can welcome this attention.
Oh, Cloud cops 1 Q and loses most of his HP. Direwolves do want to poke, they do want to harass. Easier said than done though. Teleport comes in from Zoranus. Wager already in the area. It all comes down to how this starts.
All onto Poltron, knocked up again, looking to try and deny. Smite steal for this one, turn her attention right back onto Shaka. Locked in place, Shadow Corruptions, Chaz, buying time, baiting. Really trying to confuse them. Wager lost in the source. Instant Emperor Divide denied. Beautiful stasis, can't get the kill though. Look how low they are, Rusty.
Look at Wager.
In they jump again, hoping for that kill. Wager reposting, doesn't matter. His team is dying around him, everybody becoming a stopwatch. It does not matter, however, though, because Direwolves are just a little bit too strong with their attention to detail, their single target DPS, and their calmness in a situation where a soul point was on the line.
And when it comes to the 5v5, Direwolves just look like they are built different. That is an Infernal Soul confirmed, with 4 Infernal Drakes backing them up. 5,000 plus damage from Praetor in that last team fight. No one can touch this Varus. And above all else, this Varus is putting in a monumental amount of work in fights. But his front line is doing so much. Chaz, yes, he dies, but he basically kills 2 of them. Effective HP of 200. And Zoranus finds his angle once again. An absolute demon in team fights. Zoranus this split. So this kicks off one more time. Poltron gets caught and Decoy instantly ults. You'd feel like that's a really dangerous start to this fight because Peace can kite back. Chaz doesn't want to allow that to happen. Finds an angle. Fiora is split from the team. Zonia's the Emperor's Divide. If that Emperor's Divide hits, he probably actually just dies, but gets the R2 off, puts Cloud, Nuli, and Shaka at 1 HP. And just when you think you've got the play, Zoranus once again finds his angle, gets straight onto the carries, and Praetor's just melee range. No one's touching him. He's having the time of his life on this Varus.
He certainly is. But I'm just in awe of what Chaz was able to achieve in that moment right there. Looking at 3 members super low, red bars blinking. ready to be executed. And really being the highway to success for the rest of the team to come on through and to wipe the floor with them. They've got the Infernal Soul. They've got the Baron too.
This bot lane Inotar definitely a risk of falling down. You would expect will fall down, but Peace seem poised to try and contest this one. Can't go on the Varus, he still has the flash. Can't go on the Jax, he still has the flash. Let alone the Counter-Strike and the Zhonya's Hourglass to keep him alive. Really starting to get pressured, really starting to get pinched. We'll see how the Peace go with their backs against the wall. So hard to deal with a Varus in this situation.
Varus is now full, 6 items complete. Oh. Sitting at a 7-1 scoreline.
Oh my god, every time he presses Q, it just feels like...
Zoranus, oh, he's been isolated in the pinch. It's the Zhonya's, tries to leap away to a wall, but it does not matter. The rest of the Direwolves group up as 4 again, straight through the mid lane. Can we get something with this Baron buff? Can we get an inhibitor?
As long as Praetor is alive, they can win a team fight. They can stay in lane. I think they just need to consistently play defense around their Varus. Zoranus oversteps his bounds. Just goes a little bit too far, does get punished. Doesn't mean the Direwolves will stop pushing, however. They'll break mid, they won't get the inhibitor. They'll push top lane, the inner will fall. They find themselves a lead for what feels like the first time. With this Baron buff, foul play. Really difficult for Peace to find a way back in this one now.
Must be said though, there's a bit of a strategy change from them. Weijia has got the whole breaker now, really investing in the split push tech. We've also seen that Cheon sold the stopwatch, no longer interested in a Guardian Angel. Has got himself the workings of that Lord Dominic's regard as well.
Just desperately needed the stopwatch in that fire, right? It was a summonerless Sivir. Unfortunately for him, didn't make much of a difference because Akali just did so much damage anyway. Jax still found the stun combo. But like you just highlighted, it does feel like, especially with those items that have been completed by the Fiora, their game plan is 1-4 and just pray the 4 can do it. Keep in mind, as we say that, Death Cap done, almost full build for Nuli. That is a big Azir. Lord Dominic's now completed as well for Cheon. If Direwolves engage, and it is a bad engage, they do die.
Absolutely, the punishment is unreal in retaliation. If they just get the uptime, and Azir and Sivir 3 hitting, really cannot be matched. It's all about holding down the fort, weathering the storm whilst Weijia does as much as he can on the split.
Yeah, just being a real nuisance in the side lane. It's going to force some recalls from Direwolves. Jax will get back there. So it should just be held perfectly fine. The question's the rest of the map. How do Direwolves act if the Jax and the Fiora are busy dealing with each other? Can they play slow? Will Praetor hit those arrows? Or will they expose themselves to mistakes, to potential angles from their opponents in a more isolated 4v4 environment? The 06 Sejuani still has 3 items, can still ult and protect the rest of the team and heal the rest of the team. And that's really what matters.
It's a tough spot to be in as Zoranus, given that he has to answer this Fiora, but he's been so instrumental to their success in these big team fights as well.
I think there was a couple of scenarios in Weijia's mind where he's like, I take this, right? I take this, right? He's going to go back to base. Just going to clear that bot wave out. The rest of the team of Peace just holding on in mid. It's a good opportunity to see exactly how Direwolves choose to try and close this one out.
A minute for Elder. As we crest over the 40-minute mark now, the longest game of the split by far, the most bloodthirsty as well. That was our opening game at 36 kills between the Chiefs and Bliss. We're just smashing records with these two.
Elder Dragon probably is going to be the major point here. I think above all else, it basically guarantees teamfight supremacy for them. A steal would obviously do really, really nice things for Peace, so they don't want that to happen if you're Direwolves here. You want to just keep the waves pushed in both mid and bottom, keep Peace dealing with those creeps, and then just own the red quadrant of the map. Peace should not be able to gain access to that bush, or they die. This is where the line gets drawn in the sand. Don't make it safe for them to come in. But first things first, Kimmy, they've got to deal with this mid wave. You can't just sit in the jungle and forget about mid, or they will push down an end in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Given all these lanes can certainly be pushed very easily. do Direwolves decide to do? Zoranus engages the Elder, doing it on his own right now. Rest of Direwolves look to try and really cut off the entry into the river.
Wedge is currently pushing mid lane, does have the teleport. Can't teleport to a blue trinket, however, he's going to have to teleport behind the rest of his team. No flanks are going to be there. He is just pushing mid instead.
They're all in. This has to be the play. Weijia just wins the game on his own otherwise. In they jump. Chaz trying to mind control. Flash, decoy. Trying to find a target. They're TPing into backdoor to end this game. Who cares that you've got Elder? Direwolves just need to zap, need to delete, need to kill. They're flanking. They're flush.
They can't do it.
They're back to base and they get back in time.
They cannot kill Zoranus. The recall's out from Praedyth. Chayon's going to have to try and pull out a heroic effort, but he's dealing with 5 members strong with Elder Dragons. This should just be game. Peace, they threw everything at it. They tried, they scaled up, but when it came to the 5v5 skimmy, doesn't feel like they've been able to compete with Direwolves, not even really once.
Well, that was the conscious decision. We're not going to entertain this Elder. You've given us the invitation through the mid lane. Let's just take that split push trade. They gave it a good, really good crack at it. The Direwolves seemingly just a little bit too composed in a situation like that. Chain versus the world to defend this base up against an Elder-inspired team. Good luck. There is the ace. And that is Direwolves closing out their round robin with a bang.
And after a really positive start for top lane here for Peace, right? Like a 3-0 Fiora running around. It felt like a very active early game from them. Once it came to the skirmishes, once it really came to the forefront of the battlefield, Direwolves just never really lost any of those trades. They went even at a minimum. They started winning. And just a couple of really big teamfight moments was all it took, right? Zoranus, again, finds a 4-man stun, followed by the Poltron Wukong engage. That, to me, highlight moment, that's where Direwolves won.
I agree. And for me, at least, I'm not sure what you two think, but how hard is it to try and find an MVP in this game? Because everybody was popping off.
I'm just reading the prophecy. It was all fulfilled. And the best part about this, depending on how next game goes, is if Peace sit at the bottom of the leaderboard and Direwolves are at the top of the leaderboard, they get to go head-to-head first day on that group stage in a best-of-3. And we can see this not once, but at least twice, maybe even 3 times on that day. So, oh, I'm happy. I'm happy as like, what a good game, huh? Like, yeah, it was chaotic. Yeah, it was a little bit brawly, a little bit messy, but it was fun. Kitty and I were just thoroughly enjoying most things that happened that game. Oh, and Zoranus, look, you need to give him a bloody shout out after that. Just bullied, full-on bullied at the start of the game. It didn't really get a chance, but it never broke him. He looked like he might have been tilting a little bit in those player cams, but in those team fights, rather, he was just popping the hell off.
Yeah, I mean, Zoranus himself explained this matchup to me. When it comes to the Jax vs Fiora matchup, and the Jax falls behind in this instance, he has better angles to find his way back into the game because of these team fights. Like the Jax, you just flash in, land a huge stun, which happened at one of these dragon fights. Right here, 4-man stun, and he just completely one-dials the entire fight and turn the game around. While this Fiora, you're trying to look for those side lane skirmishes because of course your champion doesn't act as well as a team fighter, so you have to just play through the side lane, which I think Shaka could have definitely hovered a bit more because your win con is this Fiora. You have the Sivir, you have the Azir, they're not pushing into you and they have a lot of safety tools to run away. And of course, I need to just highlight as well that the Varus vs Sivir match, we keep seeing this for patch 13.1b, and I just think the Varus is so much more valuable up against the Sivir because you just have so much range as well. We haven't really seen a Sivir pop off. She's acted more like a utility tool with that ultimate, and I just think it's not a fair trade when it does come to the draft.
Just insane. Look, pick one of these bloody dragon fights, any of them really, and it could even be the play of the day. And this is only game 1. We've still got much more action to get through. But look at that,
wow.
Praedyth with 4 Infernal Drakes and the Soul, almost 50k damage.
Yeah, 50k damage. You never want to give those Infernos over to a poke Varus. But I also forgot to give credit to Chaz, right? He's on this Akali and he had a near perfect KDA. Unfortunately, did get caught that one time, but during that one team fight at, I believe, the Dragon Soul, he single-handedly made 3 people 1 HP, all 1 tick from just dying, and Zoranus was just able to clean up and win the entire fight.
Yeah.
Just fun. Just what a fun day. Like, we were worried. We thought it was going to be chaotic, and that was a chaotic game. But the tiebreakers, ooh, it's going to be a little bit different now that Peace didn't get the dub. Direwolf certainly did. Let's see who we've got here for a quick old chin wag. It's my man Chaz, who was almost perfect in the mid lane today. Mate, tell me about the pressure going into that one. And during the game, it was the longest game of the split so far, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the stats guy, but definitely not much pressure. Yesterday, I think, actually the Chiefs game, there was pressure. I felt like we were very, like, some players were a little bit anxious before that match, and then after that, I don't really think there's like been too much pressure. Obviously, there was a bit of bragging rights for the last game against Pentanet. Like, we wanted to finish first, and it kind of sucks that like we lost the head-to-head there. But today, like, I don't know, just an average game for us. Like, we didn't feel any pressure, like it was do or die or anything. Like, we respect these guys as a team, but they're just another team at the end of the day.
No pressure at all. I mean, to be fair, you guys will be going against Peace in the group stage, and it will be a best of 3. So I hope the best for that as well. But congratulations on ending, I believe, 6-1. Yes, 6-1 for the single round robin. So let's talk about the matchup a little bit. You were playing the Akali into Azir, and during these team fights, how did you really approach them?
Well, basically, it's just my job to flank. A lot of the team fights, like, I'm just kind of standing around there going like, hey, if you guys want to move forward, like, I will kill you. And then they're like, oh shit, maybe we can't go forward. So that's like kind of my job. I just need to make sure I'm in a good position where if they want to commit further, like, they're, I don't know, feeling scared from me. And then when they do, like, if they use anything on not me, like, I'm going to wipe them. So they have to like hold really far back, hold spells, stuff like this. So that's like basically my job. The matchup in the early laning phase is chill. Like, I just get poked out, drop a bit of CS, but he can't really do too much. So it's definitely a comp pick, the Akali. I thought it was very good against their champs.
And talking about the early game, obviously Zoranus was having a pretty tough time during in that Fiora Jax matchup. So tell us what the team was thinking when you did see Zoranus dropping those deaths in that lane.
Like, obviously it's quite scary when a split push starts to get fed with the Fiora, but I mean, Jax always has like comeback potential, so it's not like if you have like an all-one versus Fiora and he's dropping down that main level, like that, like much gold, you're like, oh shit, this is very dangerous. But Jax still can play the game. Like, one team fight turnaround, he gets a few kills, like he's gonna start beating Fiora, so it's not like the game was ever too scary. And like, he seemed relatively fine. Like, we were commenting, do we need to help you? Are you fine? He's like, no, it's okay, it's okay. Like, there was a few times we were talking about like switching the matchup so I could burst him and make his time a little bit easy, but yeah, he seemed to navigate it well from behind, and like he had that one team fight with the flash stun, like that basically won us the game. So yeah, I don't think anyone was too stressed.
Yeah, look, now I need to let you have the floor for a moment. Of course, it's going to be a couple of weeks before the group stage starts, so I don't think you'll be needing to play any tiebreakers, touch wood, so we might not see you tomorrow. But look, any words for all the Chaz fans out there before we go on this break?
Well, thanks for supporting us. If I was to be completely honest, starting into the year, I was expecting not a great first round robin and a really good like group stage and playoffs. So the fact that we've started off strong here is looking really good for anyone on Team Chaz, Team Direwolf. So thanks for support, and only up from here.
Only up from here. Hold this W, my friend. We'll let you go. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
You too, Chaz. He's got the
He's
dub.
so well spoken.
He's going to have a bloody win. Have a great night. But also, that brings us to their VP, DVP? The Dare MVP time. We don't have it at the moment, but who would you throw out there, Rusty?
I think Praedyth for sure. In terms of like flashiness, people might give it to Zoranus because he did basically win them the game with one team fight, but Praedyth was like always on the whole game, and I think was just the most consistent, and like, this depends how you define valuable.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he was more valuable in that game, so that's who I would vote for.
Yeah.
Okay, that's who you'd vote for. Skimmy, who's your hot contender?
Yeah, that is the argument, right? Like, Zoranus having those like really special moments in lane and team fights. You could argue that Chaz filled his role perfectly, causing a lot of chaos.
Died for a cannon.
Always
Classic
It
mid
happens. You know what? KDA ruined for a cannon.
It's
you get that
either
on the big
Chaz or
jobs.
Praedyth that dies for their
But
cannon,
I think
okay?
Praedyth, for me, doing like 50k, like just pure Legion damage. He's just popping off, so I'd probably give it to him.
The Poke Man. Well, let's see who got it today. From you guys in Twitch chat, the Dare MVP for the first game was the Prey Diff down in that bot lane.
9-1-1.
9-1-11.
Damn.
9111.
But not for
9111.
me. Bang, bang, bang.
Hey, Skimmy's on it, of course. 71% KP and 38% of the damage, even though he was almost dropping 50 bloody K. 49,000. You get that in your solo queue games and you're pretty happy, but get it in a comp game, that's unheard of.
And I am very excited now. We've seen Peace play twice, as well as the rest of the top of our league, for just best of threes.
Yeah.
Because we get to see them play against each other, we get to see them adapt, right? Which is something we don't often see up until playoffs in the LCO. So very exciting couple of weeks in our future.
No more best of ones for these two teams, at least. We have 3 more best of ones remaining, at least, maybe, who knows. Tiebreakers could be all over the place.
I think
but
they're dead.
They're dead?
I think tiebreakers are dead.
I think because
Peace needed
Direwolves
to win.
won. That's it.
I'm
We'll
going to double
confirm
check
during
that.
the break.
I'm going to need at least 3 minutes to do that. And fortunately, it's time for a break before we jump on into the second game of the day. That's going to be PGG up against Team Bliss. That's coming up in a sec.
Confused them. Wasia lost them as well. Instant Emperor Divide denied. Beautiful stasis. Can't get the kill though. Look how low they are, Rusty.
Look at Wedger.
In they jump again, hoping for that kill. Wasia reposting, doesn't matter. His team is dying around him, everybody becoming a stopwatch. It does not matter, however, though, because Direwolves are just a little bit too strong with their attention to detail. They're